Okay, so here's our program that we just had. I noticed that I've been very badly forgetting to close the input file. You should remember, although you notice it didn't fail, you should remember to close the input file after you finished reading from it. Anyway, now I'm going to show you how to output the data into a file. So in this program we just outputted it to the screen, but let's output the data to a file. And I'm going to show you two ways of doing this. The first way is very similar to the way we read in the file. So we can create an OF stream, or an output file stream, and we give it a file name. So create an output file stream. So this is very like how we opened the file to read in, except now we're opening a file to write out, so it's hence OF stream. You can check if that file is open just the same way as we checked whether the input file was open. So if we get here, file is open for writing. But if that fails, then something went wrong. So let's write an error out. Unable to open the file for writing. A new line. And exit. Okay, so I'll close the file here so I don't forget to do it later. Right, so now in here we can write whatever we want out to the file. So we're going to have a loop that looks a lot similar to this one, so let's copy this and paste it in here. Okay, make the indenting look nice. Output the data points to the file. Alright, so the loop is still good. We want to loop over the size of this vector data, and we can write them out just like if we were writing them to the screen, but instead of using cout, we put the name of the output file stream, so it's out file. So we'd have out file and then the insertion operator, the two symbols. And what this will do if you just leave it like this is it will just output the numbers one after the other in a long line. That's not really what we want. So let's add a comma between the two numbers. So that's a comma. And let's add a new line at the end of each line, at the end of each pair of points. So what this should do now is it should open the file to write to, and it loops over the vector data and writes out one per line the x value and the y value separated by a comma. Alright. Okay, so we run it. Okay, so on the terminal nothing looks different because we haven't changed any of that. But now we should have a file, and it will be in the folder which you open by right clicking on the project name and then open folder in Windows Explorer. And here's the file. Okay, that's good. Let's look at it with WordPad. And here it is. So you can see that it outputted the values separated by a comma, but it didn't format the numbers the same as our input file, did it? So let's have a look at what the input file looks like again. Okay, so that looks like this. So really what we wanted is to output the same numbers but separated by a comma. So we need to format these x values so that they look like that. Okay, so with this method of writing files out, the way to format the output is by including a package, if you like, called iomanip. So let's include iomanip here, and that lets you manipulate the input and output. So what we want to do is we want to manipulate the output. So iomanip gives you access to some extra commands that you can send onto the output stream, which don't print anything but which control the way things get printed. So one of them, for example, is set width. So that would set the width of a field. So you could say I want that field to be 3 wide, and you could send it the command fixed, which means I definitely want it to be 3 wide no matter what. And then you can also use one called set precision, which tells it how many numbers after the decimal point to output. Okay, so if you build this now and run that, and now look at what the output file looks like. Okay, so that's Microsoft trying to be clever. And let's close that and open it again, and so we can see the changed version. Okay, so now it's 1.0, 2.0, but now we've ruined this column. So let's go back to the program and fix that. So the second column, you want it to be, so now we need to send some commands here. So let's do set width 5, fixed, and let's set precision 2, and build and run that. Okay, go and find the file. Yeah, actually we should close this, because otherwise it will just print the same thing up. Open the file with WordPad. Okay, so now you've got what you wanted. So you can use IO manip to format the output that you send to this output file stream.